Okay guys, we're back here for part 2 of the 1998 Suzuki RMX250 build project that we've been doing with Boyd's Motorcycle Surgery. We've got Matt Boyd here with us today. He's going to fit a whole bunch of parts to the bike. He's already fitted a whole bunch of parts to the bike over the last week. We tried to stick with Suzuki Australia genuine Suzuki parts, just so that the bike is as fresh and as close to what it was when it was new. But Boydie, tell us, once you pulled the bike apart after part 1, tell us everything that you've decided to replace. Tell us the bits that desperately needed it, the parts that may not have necessarily needed it, but we're going to replace them anyway.
Yes, so when we kind of dove into it, especially with the engine, it ended up being a whole lot more work than we actually anticipated. When I got in there, we kind of come to the assumption it was going to be better just to do the job once rather than to do it 3 or 4 times. We want this thing to be reliable, so yeah, we had to separate the whole engine to replace the crank because the crank bearings were really growly and noisy. They weren't going to last a whole lot longer. So when we got in there, we decided to replace all the gearbox bearings as well. They weren't in too bad a shape, but they're potentially 30 years old and never been replaced. So for the sake of a few extra dollars, we went ahead and replaced all of them, so we know the gearbox is all in good condition. The clutch, while it was still working fine, we don't want it to burn out and start to slip, in a month's time or whatever. So it was easier just to put a clutch in there while we're in there. And we know this engine is brand new. All the running gear in there is replaced. It's got a new piston, it's got all new bearings, all new seals, new crankshaft. We've even replaced the needle in the carby and the gaskets in the carbies. The carby's been overhauled. We've left no stones unturned in there because we don't want problems down the track.
And so we've kind of gone way over the top. The bike was running when we bought it in, but it was running with a pretty bad rattle, which was the reason for the bottom end. So we were aware that this would have been a very expensive build, but Boydie said if you're handy enough, there might be some stuff you can do at home as well. What else, aside from the engine, have we decided to replace today?
Well, this engine itself was running and could have potentially kept running for, how long's a piece of string? Yeah, it could have run for a week, it could have run for another 2 or 3 years. Those main bearings were in a bad way, and the piston, it had had a home rebuild job recently. Someone had used grease as a base gasket, so it wasn't gonna last, but we don't know how long it would have run like that. So we've also gone ahead, we're in the middle of replacing all the swing arm and linkage bearings and wheel bearings. They don't look like they've been replaced or touched in 30 years. They don't look like they've had a whip of grease in that time. So they're all shot, they're all worn out. We're going to replace all those, so the bike's going to be much tighter and nicer to ride. It should feel like a new bike once it's all done.
And everything we've ordered, for everything that we could have replaced on this bike, it's almost brand new now. You can get it all in Australia. Parts are easily accessible, or is it one of those things where it's like parts are a nightmare to get a hold of?
No, for the most part, I would say Suzuki Australia still has 99.9% of the parts for these. There are a couple of things that are no longer available, but they weren't big ticket items, and they ended up being stuff that we could repair anyway. So
cool. Well, stay tuned because we're going to go to part 3 in a few weeks' time. Part 3 is all the pretty stuff. We've got to get a new seat because the seat's all flogged out and ripped up. We're going to put graphics on it, tyres. The tyres look like they haven't been replaced for years. We're going to wire up all the ADR compliance so we can get it blue slipped here in New South Wales and then registered it. In the end, we'll explain how we're going to do all that. So part 2 is the big job that Boydie's been spending weeks doing, which is the pulling it down, ordering the parts, rebuilding absolutely everything. Part 3, we're going to get it on the road and looking pretty. Alright guys, we've spent 10 or 12 hours in the workshop today and we didn't quite get through what we were hoping to get through with our stage 2 of our RMX250 project build. Boydie's put all the internal engine pieces back together. He's got bearings in the rear end kind of set up. We've kind of got the subframe back on, but we've got all the front end still to do. We've got to fit all these MX store parts, which is headlights and all the end kind of finishing bits. So we're going to have to leave that to another day. It was far bigger and more complicated than we first thought. Boydie, off the top of your head, give us a few of the things that we got caught out by and that kind of held us up, that punters out there having a go at it will have to be careful
of. So it was just little things. It was a whole lot of little things. It wasn't really anything specific, like the Kickstarter. It's all worn and flogged out. I need to weld it up so it doesn't fold all the way backwards. Just makes kicking the bike easier. Things like we reconditioned the shock. We took that whole thing apart and replaced all the seals and oil and everything in there with a new bump stop rubber. The oil in there come out smelling like creek mud, so it was not going to operate properly like that. Things we just didn't anticipate, like broken spokes. The brakes hadn't been touched in so long that they were all jammed up with mud and it just held us up for a bit longer than we expected.
And I think you said even the swing arm bearings were wheel spacers, not an actual collar.
So someone at some stage of this bike's life has fitted the wrong spacers in the swing arm, and then they've tried to just bolt that in and it's squashed the frame in, so we had to repair all that properly, fix all that properly, because we don't want the swing arm slopping around when we're trying to ride the bike. We want everything to be tight and operate the way it should, not slapping around and all that extra play in there. And so that held us up more than we wanted to, but it's the way these things go. It's just how it is when you start working on a 30-year-old bike.
And I think even getting the air boot into the carby took us forever, because the rubber in it, the plastic is so old that it contorted, changed shape, become brittle, and we needed 2 people to pull it. What happened?
Yeah, so we the air boot, it's obviously the original one, and the rubber goes hard over time, so it shrinks, and trying to squeeze the carby back into an old air boot was a bit fiddly. So it's just little things like that.
All right, so to finish off part 2, guys, you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks till we can come back after Chrissy. Front end, what's the plan for the front end? And we've got to fit all the MX store stuff that turned up yesterday as well.
Yeah, so we're kind of working our way forward. We've done all the rear wheel bearings, all the rear suspension, all the linkages, all that's all sorted. Now we're going to recondition the forks. So we're going to strip them forks apart, all new bushes, seals, dust seals, oil. They're all going to be replaced. We've got new wheel bearings and brakes to go in the front. So it's not going to take as much time as the rear, but it's still time consuming and just, we're not cutting corners. We want everything to perform as well as it should on this bike. So,
and then finally you said once it's all together, you got to obviously tune it. You can't just go, great, here you go, walk out the door.
Yeah, so we've got an entirely new engine, like all the bearings, crank, piston, everything in there is new. So we're not just going to go straight out the bush and bring this thing's neck. We're going to run it, make sure it's jetted properly, make sure it's getting enough fuel, make sure it's getting enough oil. There's obviously a running procedure. We're not just going to go and hold the thing flat out and wring its neck. We want to make sure that it's running the best it can and get the best life out of the motor. So
All right, well, we'll see you in 2 weeks when we come back, or 2 or 3 weeks when we come back to fit the whole front end of the bike and make sure it's running fine, and then put all the finishing touches on it from MX Store and the last few Suzuki Australia genuine parts, and we'll be done.